Hello, you beautiful people. Today I will be talking about my top 5 reasons for loving, visiting slash living in Peru. So if you've been thinking about it and you're not sure, let me ease your mind and give you some good things to think about if you're considering coming, because it really is such an amazing place. So top 5 reasons why I like living in Peru slash visiting Peru. And number one, first and foremost, I can't not lead this off with the food. Now, their food is spectacular. It's some of my favorite food that I've ever had, and it has nothing to do with the dishes. The dishes aren't particularly complex. They have some good local dishes that are like really unique as well. However, just the literal quality of food that they have to offer here is spectacular. It's like every bite of food has full flavor. It tastes really good. Now, if you were to go somewhere like Lima, you take a little bit of hidden flavor, but even when I was in Lima, the food was really, really good. It was just, yeah, it's amazing, the food here. A lot of the food kind of bases itself in chicken, so that's the majority of the Peruvian diet. Again, changes regionally, but chicken is pretty much their go-to. So if you don't eat meat, there are options here. I mean, the vegetables are super fresh as well, and everything is super fresh, but that's number one. So number two, and this is a pretty big one. This one is definitely regional speaking. However, I've never had an issue. It's the safety of Peru in general. There's very little like conflict. There's very little police presence because it's just not really needed. It's really, really low in the Sacred Valley. So if you're looking to go anywhere, the Sacred Valley is super safe. And the only thing I've ever heard of going wrong is a cab driver who isn't from here, usually like the Sacred Valley, comes and they take a tourist off somewhere they shouldn't go and just tell them, you got to pay me double what you promised for me to take you back, or you can walk. And that rarely, rarely, rarely happens. I've only heard of it. I've taken tons of taxis. I've never had a problem. Um, so there's really not many issues as far as that goes. Um, I've been coming and going from Peru for probably about 5 years now. Don't quote me on that. And I've only heard one person say that they knew someone that happened to. So that kind of gives you an idea. I've met a lot of people here. So it's super safe. So at night when it's completely dark, I feel very comfortable walking around. The only thing that gets a little weird is the dogs, but usually the dogs leave you alone. They bark at you to like let their owners know, I guess, that you're walking by the house. But other than that, the dogs pretty much leave you alone. I've never heard of anyone getting bit. I've heard of people getting scared, and if you lean down and pretend to pick up a rock, the dogs completely leave you alone. So that's number two. It's very, very, very safe here from what I've noticed. Now, I've been hearing mixed signals about Arequipa and Lima, but if you stick to certain areas, um, it's really, really safe here. Number three, the nature. And I know what some of you are going to say in the comments, like, hey, I want to see more nature since you're saying the nature's so great. I am working on it. I promise you that. But the nature is absolutely beautiful. The way that they blend nature with their communities and cities is absolutely just breathtaking. For example, in Lima, if you go to Miraflores, which is a little bit more of I don't know if you'd call it touristy. I guess you could call it touristy. Some people who are from there would call it touristy, but it's more like high end living, I guess, for the area. So, the streets are a lot cleaner. It's one of the most safe places in the actual city itself. But right there, connected to it, you can see the mountains. And within like 10-minute walk from most places in Miraflores is a beach as well. So like there's this beautiful overpass. Next time I go in Lima, I'm definitely going to show you guys, which I'm working on doing something in Lima. I've got a lot of things on the books, but there's this beautiful overpass over this just beautiful like two streets, and the way it looks is just like it's really amazing. But right on the other side is beach, and there's people hanging out on the beach, surfing, laying down, sunbathing, whatever you want to call it. But it's really amazing, and all of them are kind of like that. Like even here in the Sacred Valley, there's a lot more nature kind of everywhere. There's parks everywhere. Not the kind of parks that you might be thinking of in like the US where you go to the park and play soccer, although they do have those. It's more so like hiking trails and little places where you can kind of dip off to the side that probably most people don't walk, and you can just enjoy a nice walk around some trees and a river. And yeah, it's really beautiful. Also, there's in the mountains, there's these rivers that come down and out of the mountains. I think that's where they come from, but there's just a constant source of water just pouring down. And it's really beautiful to sit next to one of those. You can hear the water. It's nice and cool. It can get pretty hot, but so that is a big, big, big number 3. Yeah, the connection. Yeah, number 3. Number 4, my fourth favorite thing about Peru is the people. Now, of course, you can't generalize about any people, good or bad. However, in general, when I've met Peruvians, they've been extremely nice, extremely helpful, extremely accommodating, and extremely interested in teaching about their culture and learning about other cultures. Super open-minded people, very smart. Most of them are speaking 2 languages, Quechua and Spanish, and yeah, just their kind of approach to life is like a slower approach to life, but still with purpose. So the people are very inspiring, hard workers that also know how to rest when rest is time. And yeah, I found that they're really beautiful to talk to. They have a lot of knowledge about, as you could probably guess, nature and the world that surrounds them, as far as like the natural world. And yeah, they're just an amazing group of people. Every single Peruvian I've met has been amazing. All of them really want to learn English, so as long as you start the conversation a little bit, they almost all are super receptive to learning English if you're willing to teach it. And I live in a very local area. I'm not just talking about the Peruvians that you come up on when you do touristy things. Pretty across the board, it is this way from what I have experienced. Now, I found that other people from other countries have moved here that are from Spanish-speaking countries that are not Peruvian, and you can kind of tell by the way they go about things. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but you can really tell when you're working with a Peruvian. They're just absolutely beautiful, beautiful people. Loki, ¿qué pasa? Last, and certainly not least, number 5, it is super easy to get around in Peru. And I think part of this is because a lot of the local people can't afford cars, which is unfortunate, but the one benefit that does come out of it is there are plenty of ways to get around. There are colectivos, which are basically like, I don't know, just a kind of a bus or a van that constantly goes in circles. It's like a bus system, essentially. Going short range and long range places, usually they're not very expensive. I wouldn't say they're the most novice friendly, so it takes a little bit to figure out where they're going, how they work, and all that stuff. But once you figure it out, it is super easy to get around here. Not whether you're going 2 hours to a city that you haven't been to, or you're crossing the entire country to get to Chile or Bolivia. It is so easy to get around here, and it makes it super easy to travel. You don't need to rent a car here. I could definitely see why people do. I think personally, unless you're going a lot of places in quick succession, it's a waste of money because there are so many ways to get around here. And if you can't get there by collective or a bus, there are plenty of taxis who are more than willing to take you. It's just everything is so accessible here as far as traveling goes. So it just makes it just such a great experience living and visiting. And if you are considering coming here, you definitely should. Maybe do a little bit of research on what kind of climate you want to go to, because there's very different climates all across the country. But I guarantee you, if you do the research and you look into the place a little bit, you're going to have a trip that you'll never forget. Speaking of trips that you'll never forget, one of the things that I do here is I actually organize retreats. So if you're one of those people who likes to show up, have a great time, and not really worry about anything, let me know in the comments, or you can reach out to me on Instagram, because I put together some pretty amazing retreats that I'm going to be posting some testimonials about soon. So not only can you guys have some healing and growing experiences, but also it'll be a trip you will never forget. And so I am looking forward to hearing from you guys. Otherwise, right up here, I have some videos that YouTube knows you will really like. So if you click right up there, YouTube has handpicked that for you, and it's going to be perfect. Otherwise, if you want to see other content or hear what's so great about Peru or hear about other things that I do around the world, you can go ahead and click this button where you can subscribe and we can stay in contact. Thank you for joining the community, and I'll see you soon.